Okay, hello everybody. I've seen some familiar faces, so I've seen a lot of environmental engineers being around, but I think there are also some from other departments. And I would like to ask with a simple question. Do you know what flash flood is? Or have you ever heard flash flood? Yes?
It's a flood that comes right after extensive raining.
Okay. I'm sure that all of you are familiar with the events that took place last year in MANDRA, Tiki. So this was a flash flood phenomenon. In few hours, the whole tons of water came down from the mountains and flooded the whole area of MANDRA. And unfortunately, we had more than 20 deaths of human beings. So therefore, flash flood, in combination with the climate change, lately became one of the hottest topics for research. Based on that, I'm going to present some results and some of the research that I'm involved on an indirect project, which is a European funded project between the Technical University of Crete, with my lab, the Institute of Technology in the Cyprus Institute of Technology in Cyprus, and also the University of AREA-NEA in Lesbos. We are two universities and one research center, and the main objective of that is floods. I'm going to show you what we are trying to do and what is our main objective. Let's make an introduction. Regarding weather conditions, the economic losses in Europe from 1998 to 2016, it was more than 400 billion euros. 450 billion euros. So it's a huge amount, okay? If you think what was the Greek debt, which was a few $1 million, or if we are talking for 450 billion of euros, you can understand how much money Europe has spent to the extreme water conditions. And what else, as we will see, let's go, can I come back? As we can see here, those money, 40% has gone to floods and 10% to droughts. So 50% has to do either with too much water or not much water, or no water at all. And the rest is storms, 25%, heat waves and other phenomena, and basic increase. The main phenomenon that we are facing are floods. We start having droughts, but still the problem is not very serious. Now, if we see the effects of floods in Europe, the darkest the color means more the human deaths. And as we can see, the darkest color is here, Bulgaria, Romania, where they have more than 10 deaths per year per million of residents. And then you can see Greece has a dark color, and lighter color is here, but the worst case scenario is Bulgaria, Romania, and Serbia, where the last few years they have seen a lot of floods. What is flood? Sometimes, I gave a talk a few months ago at the elementary school, and they told me it's fun. They think like it's water around the house, so we can go out and play. No, flood is not, it's wrong. It's not fun, okay? It's a lot of water around the house, and much more, it's only that, much more than that. Flood is exceptionally dangerous, can cause significant damages to city, coastlines, rural areas, losses in human lives and property, and can create erosion power, extremely destructive, even with low water level. Like even if we have few centimeters of water, the velocity of water in some cases can be so high that can create a lot of damages. What is a flood? It's a natural phenomenon. We cannot avoid them, okay? We cannot avoid them 100%. Area being submerged underwater. Few of the floods appear suddenly, and that's where we're going to be concentrated on flash floods, and repeated quickly, and some others can take days or months to manifest and for water to retreat. As we said, the water during a flood phenomenon can travel with high velocities and can carry objects, houses, believe it or not. And maybe here in Greece we don't see that because our houses are made from concrete. But if we go to Canada or United States, where the houses are made of wood, a lot of times with a flood phenomenon, we can see houses traveling with the water, the whole house. I bet you have seen some videos sometimes where they show some extreme phenomenon, extreme situations, where the whole house goes down the street. Bridges, cars, furniture, and even people, that's what happened in MANDRA. Destroy farms, that's a big problem. And what do we mean destroy farms? It can remove most of the productive soil of the farm. That's a big problem. Uproot trees and more heavy objects. And this is a simple example of soil erosion due to a flood phenomenon. This is outside MANDRA. Last year, you can see the part of the whole road has been removed due to soil erosion, and that happened after the flood phenomenon. This is a flood picture from the United States in Mississippi. And these are pictures from all around the world, from Asia to United States, to Europe and everywhere. So flood is not a phenomenon that happens only in Europe, but all around the world. And here is in MANDRA, in Attica, 2017, some of the pictures, and more than 20 people that died due to the flood in the area. Actually, as you remember, or maybe you heard on the news, that in the town of MANDRA, they didn't see any water for the whole night. And all of a sudden, early in the morning, thousands of tons of water, they came from the mountains. And the whole story happened in 5-6 hours. That was the full definition of a flash flood. During the night, the people in MANDRA, they didn't see much rain. They didn't expect what is going to happen. And that's one of the main characteristics of a flash flood, that we don't have time to react. That's the bad thing about it. Where the flood, what are the flood causes? Climate changes. You heard about climate changes. It's not the first time that you heard this expression. The last few years, most of the research projects are concentrated on climate changes. And what is the climate change? That's the main characteristics: increase of the temperature, either no water at all in some areas, or much water in some other areas, having the flood phenomenon. Land use changes. That's another thing. What do you think? What do we mean by land use changes? Yes?
when we make cities or buildings near coastlines or near riverbanks.
Yes, when you have like a rural area and you go and build the houses there, then it's very possible to create a flood phenomenon later on. But mostly, you know, when we say land changes, is the land changes that happens where we had a forest or in general trees, and we have removed them and used for other for other purposes. This is the case where when you remove the trees, then you remove also the root system of the tree. The root system is the thing that holds the soil in the area, okay? So if you don't have a deep root vegetation there, easily the soil can move out when a lot of water comes through a flood phenomenon. And also other human interventions where we have rural development. A lot of times, even for those of you who are from Iraklio, or for those of you who will be traveling to Iraklio, just before you enter the city of Iraklio, you will see the whole town be built in the stream. Going to Iraklio, on your right hand, you will see in the river more than 100 houses being constructed. What do we expect in that case? If we have a flood, who is going to be responsible? In this case, the people who own the houses are responsible for that. They went and built in the bed river. Okay? Partial or total cover of stream beds. That's the thing that happened in MANDRA. They cover the stream and then they start building on that. Dimensions of low height of bridges, not good design. They make very low, so if a lot of water comes, takes the whole bridge, and then we have a flood over the river. Deforestation due to wildfires and erosion. Large-scale construction perpendicular to riverbeds. Subsidence in lowlands. And change or diversion of riverbeds. A lot of times they are talking like we have a Hello's river, and they are talking to take some water and go to another direction. Okay, so some of the villages who are in that direction, they can have some water for irrigation. This can create problem because if we don't design the right water in the right way, the water that we are going to drive to that direction, wherever we want the water for irrigation, then can be a problem. And that problem can create a flood phenomenon. 100% flood protection, not feasible. The flood is, as we said, is a natural phenomenon and it's going to happen. The only thing that is feasible is to evaluate, to have a risk management before the flood takes place, and also to study the flood events that happen during the year. Then we get experience, then we know what happens in the area, and then we can take some measurements before we have the next phenomenon. Types of floods, we have the sudden or flash floods, the ones that we mentioned. Very short time scale, few minutes to few hours. Intense rainfall, dam breaks or snow melt. The most destructive and possible deadliest flood, and people usually unprepared. That's one of the main characteristics. With the flash flood, we don't have time to react. And either we stay in the house. Lately, I was talking with someone who their house was flooded last year in KYDONIA here in CHANIA. And in the house, there was a grandmother and 4 of her grandchildren. And the water came in the house, and the grandmother insists to remain in the house. okay? Just because she didn't want to leave, she was scared to take the 4 kids out, but that was a big mistake. Because if it was a flash flood phenomenon, in few minutes or few hours, the water could go to 1 or 2 meters in the house. And you can see some pictures on that. Okay? So if we don't have, in this case, that we don't have much time, and because sometimes let's say, okay, let's wait a little bit, let's see what is going to happen. Maybe if it's a flash flood, maybe it will be too late, and maybe we will have some very even deaths, even human beings will be died. Flood types, the second type is the slow floods. These are the cases where we have a river and the water starts coming out a little bit, and in a few days flood the whole area, and then it takes few days or a few weeks to take the water back. That floods that happens usually up in North Greece, sometimes during the winter. You can hear that we have some precautions or some measurement regarding Evros River, where we are getting a lot of water, and sometimes the Bulgarians open the dams, and then more water comes down, and then in this case we are expecting the water level in the Evros River, in the Greek part, to go above the height of the river, and then we are expecting to have some floods. These are slow onset and may last for days or weeks, spread across many kilometers, and appear more often in flat plains. When we say flat plain, it's like the plain, very flat areas where very flat areas where we don't have any slope. Then the water is concentrated and then can remain, or not only for a few days, but for a few weeks. This is the characteristic. Where are the areas that are in danger for flooding? As we can see here, this is the river, and then there are the flood areas, which is to the left and to the right to the river. And actually we can characterize, if we go and study this area, we can say that this is the zone of the 25 years, this is the zone of 50 years, and this is the zone of 100 years. What does it mean, the flood zone of 25 years? That means in the 25 years, the river is going to be flooded at least once. Maybe 24 times or 100 times, but at least 100% is going to be at least one flood in the 25 years. If we have the 50 years, the probability is less, then we have at least one flood in 50 years, and so on. And always the water moves from the high elevations to the low elevation, so that's why these areas are more dangerous for flooding. What are the flood consequences? Disasters consequences to economy. Destruction of houses, roads, cars, fire department expenses. As you can see, the damages that were created in MANDRA. Still, people, they didn't get their money because it's a lot of money. Still, all the roads are not fixed or not repaired, and still there are some problems. Environmental consequences. You can understand that, as we mentioned here, in Fukushima in 2011, there was a radiation leakage due to the tsunami. The tsunami also creates kind of flood. It's the water that comes out of the sea. And people and animals, injury, death, disease transmission, all these are due to the flood phenomenon. Flood prevention. In most of the well-developed countries, we have all these things that are for protection measures. As you can see, seawalls, retaining walls, seating plannings, vegetation, training, and water retaining tanks. The first and the second is not very often in Greece, even the last one. You need a lot of money and you need a lot of design to do this kind of things. And just because until the last few years, we did not have many floods. The last few years we have floods due to the climate change. The only thing that has been done lately is the city planning, the vegetation, and training. Training, we just started talking about flash floods and just educate people what flood is and what you should do in the case of a flood. But still, in most of the cases, people, they don't know what a flash flood is or a slow flood is. And this is the things that we should try, especially people who are involved with environmental issues. They should start talking and teach people, and especially in elementary schools, because the education starts from there, in order to avoid whatever we can avoid due to the flood phenomenon. You can see this is the case where the flood comes from the ocean, and then we built a wall here. These are very common in Japan. We have this kind of seawall where you don't let much of the water coming out on the shore. This is the program that I was talking about. And actually what we try to do, it's a natural hazard warning system. Actually, what is the main objective? Let's say in a simple way. We would like to create a product so everybody from his cellular phone can have an information if his area is under danger of a flood phenomenon. So just having your cell phone to be able to be connected and see if there is dangers in the area where you live or in the area where you go, if there is a flood phenomenon coming up. Use a digital map information, risk assessing computational models, unifying informational source for environmental dangers and assisting in their management, and the project duration is for 30 months. What we are going, actually there are 3 pilot areas. One is here in KYDONIA, which our lab is responsible for that area. The other pilot area is in Colony, Lesbos, and the other one is outside Lefkosia in Cyprus. So we have 3 areas. I will be concentrated on our area here in KYDONIA in CHANIA. It belongs to the municipality of CHANIA. It's numerous recreational facilities, a lot of hotels out there, north shore, and rich flora and fauna intensive agricultural activity. This is a part of the plain of CHANIA, campus of CHANIA, where we have a lot of agricultural activities. Therefore, our main objective, the first is to create some flood risk maps. What is a flood risk map? Actually, the flood risk map is to create a map where you can know, you can show, or also you can know what is going. Is this area very? Is in this area a high possibility to have a flood or a low possibility? What we should do for that? There are several parameters that we have to take into consideration, like the altitude. As you know, if I'm on a hill, the possibility to have a flood is very low compared to the possibility to be by the shore, okay? The slope. Whenever I have big slopes, you know the water flows down, so there is no high possibility to have a flood. Land use is different if there is a forest and if there is not any use. Flow accumulation, wherever I have a river or a stream. Geology. Why the geology plays a predominant role? Because some of the geological formation can absorb water, okay? And some cannot, then it becomes surface flow. And the rainfall intensity, you understand, the more rain that I get, the higher is the possibility to have a flood. Here is some characteristic of some of the terms that I mentioned. Like, regarding the evaluation, this is an area not in the, we have done also here in the KYDONIA. This is an area outside Suda, here in CHANIA. Regarding the elevation, Here, down here is the sea, and here are the mountains. You can see I have green color, which means no high possibility regarding the elevation of the high altitude, and the color goes to red as I go down, and this is the dangerous and the very low flood hazard in these areas, dark green, low flood hazard in green, modified, high flood, and very high. So the darkest, the highest. Regarding the land use, as you can see, the elevation here has green color, the land use has brown color. So it doesn't mean in each area all the parameters have to have the same possibility of a flood. You can see, regarding the rivers, the most dangerous in this case are the areas where it's are around the river, and the rest of the area is green. If I say the rainfall intensity, as you can see on the mountains, I have more rain comparing down to the plain area. So we try to combine all this with, there is a certain methodology with a lot of mathematical and modeling, and by using some weights, we end up with this final map. Which, what does it show? Here is very green, very low possibility to have a flood here. And as I go here, you can see these are the very dangerous area, the darkest the color, and then the lighter color. And over here we have some green areas, and then some red areas, and so on. We have the same thing, we've done the same thing here in KYDONIA. And as you can see, this is the area by Karatzas River. You remember last year there was a big flood phenomenon by Karatzas River, and some of the big stores that are there, they had a few meters of water into the store, and a lot of damages took place. And as we can see here, the second dangerous area, the most one is the red, is this one. And then the whole area, the whole KYDONIA, it has a possibility more than 50%, the yellow color. And then there are some green areas here where it's actually almost zero possibility to have a flood phenomenon. This one, the one thing. And then the second thing is to use mathematical modeling. This is Kiliaris River. And as you can see here, we have designed the flood areas of Kiliaris River. What does it mean? The red and the yellows are the most dangerous. As I go to the right and to the left, the blue is the most safe area. And out of the blue, no possibility to have a flood phenomenon. So here you can have some activities, but you should not do anything wherever is green, yellow, or red color. This is actually, I show the picture here, but this can take more than 6 months to create this map, because you have to collect all kinds of information in order to end up and do all the mathematical modeling to end up with a picture like this. Okay? It's not everything comes out with some solving some finite elements, some finite difference models, and end up with flow equations to this picture. And so, regarding the Kiliaris River, this is the areas where we should not do any activity, and outside here, we could do whatever we want. So, what we try to do with this project? Actually, we have put a rain gauge up to the mountains. Stalos, the village of Stalos, a little bit outside of Stalos, we have put a rain gauge there. What we count there, what we measure there. Every day we measure, whenever we have even a drop of rain, immediately we get a signal in our lab and we know how much water we had on the mountain. It's the new technologies where it's connected with Wi-Fi, and we know immediately how much water we get on the mountain. What do we try to do? Actually, what we want to do is we want to create some curves or some lines, whatever, such that if I know how much water I have on the mountains, to predict how much water I will have in the river, where we have also a telemetric station, where in this station we measure the height of the water in the river. So what we try to do, if I have like, let's say, 100 millimeters of rain on the mountains, I should be able to predict how much water I will expect downstream in the river, such that when I see that when I see the water coming out of the river, then I should have an alarm system, or before the water comes out of the river, to have an alarm system to evacuate the area. At least to give some signals to the people who live around there, or they have their business around there in the area of KYDONIA. Now, why we have different curves here? Because, what do you think? Like, if I have a strong rain today, and the previous rain, it was 2 months ago, you think the reaction of the flood phenomenon will be the same with the case if I have a lot of rain today, and a lot of rain tomorrow, and a lot of rain the other day? It's going to be different, because if I have a rain every other day, or the next rain phenomenon was 2 days ago, the soil is saturated. And if the soil is saturated, then the whole water leaves and goes as a surface flow. It's not going to be absorbed by the soil. So that's why it's going to be different if the previous rain was a day ago, a day before, or if it was a month ago. Therefore, that's our main objective. It's like, if I measure up here 500 millimeters of rain, how much rain I should expect here in a few hours, or how much water I should have in the river a few hours later. And if I reach, then we have a cutoff height. And I say, if I'm like 1 meter before the end of the river, then I should activate an alarm system. How is going to be this alarm system? This alarm system is going to be a web-based interactive dashboard flood risk, and everybody should be able, either through the computer or through cell phone, to have access to that website. And all this information has to go on a platform. Let's see also some protection measures. Before the flood, we should update on local evacuation routes, that's what happens a lot of times. We have the impression that in my area, I will never have a flood in my area. And that's what happened in Mati last summer, where we had, because there was not any known evacuation route. Especially, in crowded villages and towns, we should have evacuation roads for floods, for fire, for whatever happens in the town. Save emergency contact numbers and have first aid kit, canned food, water, and flashlight. Especially if you live in an area where almost every year or every other year you have a flood phenomenon. Move objects to higher points of the house and secure valuables, okay? So if you have your books down on the floor, you better put it a little bit up, because if water comes into the house, it's not going to destroy all the books. Planting of trees and plants around the house to dampen water flow velocity in order to reduce the velocity of water. During the flood, shut off all electrical appliances, evacuate the area in a timely manner, keep away from severe electrical conduits, okay? Stay away from any electrical conduits. Keep away from flood water, as they may contain chemical and other hazardous substances. So what does it mean? A lot of times, under panic, when we leave the house, we try to go as far as we can from the area where it's flooded, and we swim or we jump in the water. maybe this water is contaminated with chemicals, especially if you live in an area where there are some industrial activities there. Because going through a factory, you don't know what the water has taken with it. Okay, so we should be careful before we jump into the water in order to escape. After the flood, do not return home unless cleared to do so by the safety personnel. Because if you are not sure, if you don't know that everything is safe, you better stay away of your house. Do not switch on any electrical appliance until the house has been properly cleaned. That's a lot of times some accidents that we have because, you know, if the electrical current comes in contact with water, you know what can happen. Clean the house thoroughly as well as objects in case of contamination, and wear gloves and respiratory protection during cleaning. I think I will close with that. And I hope I gave you some information on what flood is and what we should expect or what we should do in the case of a flood phenomenon. You should be aware, you know, due to the climate change, as I mentioned,